I'm the old, is time for 2025 college football talk to begin officially. And this week it's Illinois. We're looking at the Big Ten, something that we're both super familiar with. Welcome, Jordan from
The Inside Sports Podcast.
Inside Sports Podcast. I tell you, we've done a lot of these over the years, and each year it seems like there's an exciting, just a buzz in the air about July that I start getting antsy for college football. And we're going to talk about Illinois. This team, for some reason in the offseason, and you can explain even more, but there people, all of the sports media is really hyped up on the Fighting Illini being good this year. What are your initial thoughts about Illinois before we go through the schedule?
Yeah, so the reason that they're so highly looked at heading into 2025 is for the simple reason that they won 10 games last year. They went 10-3, including a really nice bowl win over a good South Carolina team. And they are bringing back almost everybody 16 starters, 9 on the offense, 7 defensively, which is top 5 in the nation in terms of returning production. So,
That's huge.
in theory, and again, that's been the trend recently, is teams that have been able to keep their rosters together typically do better. So again, it seems like it's set up for them to have a really, really good team this year and potentially make a run at the college football playoff, which you could say that's unrealistic, but I don't think it is. Again, given those parameters I just laid out, if you're an Illinois fan, you should be really excited heading into this year.
I agree, and most people that like Illinois, they're pretty diehard fans in regards to liking their team. Champaign, Illinois is a nice place to watch a football game. They have a good stadium. It's usually pretty loud, and I've been there a few times. It's a fun environment. A lot, big tailgate. They're really good at tailgating, so big following. Now, with all of that said, you've seen the video, you've seen the preseason stuff that I put out, and let's just go through this a little deeper dive into it. As the previous one was 30 seconds per team or 30 seconds per week. It's a shorter preseason video, but there's a lot of things I didn't say, and your take on things is always good. We agree on a lot, but we also disagree on a lot. So I think the first week they play the Leathernecks, Western Illinois. They're terrible FCS school. If they were to lose to them, their season's over, right?
Yeah, we don't need to have this conversation, but let's just, for the sake of this video, let's assume that
Yeah,
that's not a possibility.
it's not a possibility. Let's try to do this from memory. Let's see. Week two, um, I've got a win also.
Hmm.
Um, Duke is a decent team. Duke has the ability to beat anybody, just like every other mid-level college. But Illinois all hyped up going into it. Duke not that good. They've been roughly 500. They had one season where I think they were, but it's a win.
So here's the thing, and I'll put a little bit of analysis in here as well, just like macro analysis as well. So this is a game that, and I've already talked to a couple of Illinois fans about this. This is a classic Illinois hype up, lose spot, right? You remember a couple of years
I
ago, after their
Yeah,
really good season in 2022, they opened the year at Indiana, who was not a good team, and they were clearly the better squad the entire game, and they lost. Um, and so this is a classic Illinois early season loss to completely deflate the fan base. I think they are a better team than Duke. I do like for their sake. This is a noon game, so it's not like
yeah.
that place is going to be too rowdy, right? So I think
I've
that's
been there. Duke's not. It's not a football stadium. Like,
yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. And I think they had a pretty good year last year, and I think they're going to have a better than typical Duke team as well. But I would still lean Illinois winning this game. I think one thing that'll be interesting to watch early on, again, they bring back so much, right? And even most of their starters, if they weren't starters last year, they are now, and so there's still that familiarity within the system, right?
it's basically the
The
same team.
defensive the defensive line, however, is full of transfers. Now again, transfers are a lot easier to integrate into the system than starting a freshman would be because they have experience, right?
True.
That could be a problem early on though, while they're trying to just figure out chemistry with each other and different things like that. Maybe D line's one of those positions where it won't matter as much, so that won't matter. But I think it probably will early on. So that would be one thing to look out for in this Duke game in particular, just to see how the D line is coming along. But again, outside of that, they're pretty solid. So
Yeah, so you've got the win over Duke by.
I would.
Is this one of those games where it's a trap
I'll
game?
say this. Well, I have something for you at the end that kind of encapsulates the way I feel about Illinois. But since we're doing this game by game, I will say win for Illinois.
Okay. Yeah, and I did too. Now, Western Michigan rolls into Champaign. Is there no way that they can lose this game? So I've got them 3-0. I mean, Western Michigan, even if they're good, I think Illinois got it handled.
3-0.
Yeah. So going into Indiana is the big deal for me. Now, Indiana, I believe, on paper, okay, because of their coach, has a better team than Illinois. I think the players that Indiana has, regardless if they lost, right, they still can beat Illinois. And no one is talking about Indiana the way they're talking about Illinois, and I know that it's because of the returning. I think Illinois leads or is the team with the most players returning in the power conferences, but that doesn't always equate. We've seen teams like Northwestern and other teams have good seasons with great players. Most of the people return, and it's a 5 and 7 year. So, and I don't think Illinois is out of the woods. For some reason, it's like they're making Illinois seem like this blue blood team. It's not even close. A 9-3 season in the Big Ten happens to 3 or 4 teams. So anyway, I've got this as a loss because they're going to Indiana.
Find it very, very difficult to believe. And this is one of my no analysis spots. Just go with the reputation, the principle of things. I find it very hard to believe that they're going to win at Duke and at Indiana, two teams that are pretty solid, like
Yeah.
roaming in that 9-3, 8-4, 7-5 range, where if they're at home they have an advantage. And so again, it's just on principle. I find it very, very hard to believe that Illinois is going to go on the road and win both of those games. So I'm going to pick Indiana to beat them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's just difficult now, unless, again, I'm not saying that Illinois can't be 10-2 either, but this schedule is pretty tough, the way the schedule's set up. So then USC rolls into Champaign, and due to the fact that it's Lincoln Riley, and he's not done well with USC, even last year, dropped way out of the top 25 preseason hype. I've got Illinois winning this game. I can't tell you if it's going to be 31-27 or 41-7, but I think Illinois wins this game.
So yeah, for me on Illinois' schedule, there are 5 games that I would consider to be losable, like reasonably losable, right? Duke, Indiana, USC, Ohio State, and Washington, which we'll get to in a second. Most of those teams outside of Ohio State, and I would include Illinois in this as well, are what I would consider to be wild card teams this year in college football. I could see any of those teams reasonably being 10-2. I could see any of those teams I just named reasonably being 6-6, 7-5, right? So in trying to split hairs here and think for Illinois to get to where we think they can go, they have to go 3-2 in those 5 games, right?
Sure.
Well, I've already gone them 1-1, right? And the last 2 I think are the 2 toughest versus Ohio State at home, and then at Washington. And again, it's more or less, do I think Illinois is going to hit their peak? I'm going to give them the win against USC just simply because
I'm surprised you
I'm
said
not
that.
going to believe that a Lincoln Riley team will be able to field something that will be able to take advantage of Illinois' weaknesses, which I don't know if they have too many of them anyway. And again, USC defensively, I can't believe it until I see it. They're going West Coast, coming into Illinois. It's not the furthest flight they'll take all season, but
pretty far.
I still think Illinois, they're going to be hyped. This will be the first big home game for Illinois, so the fans are going to be super, super hyped up. Give me Illinois to win this game over USC.
Yeah, it is going to be a game where you're right. I mean, it's a conference game, so a lot of pressure. Next game, Illinois at Purdue. I don't even think this warrants a discussion. I've got Illinois beating Purdue. But if you have something I don't know,
No, I mean Purdue is pretty interesting. I think they're headed in a solid direction, hiring Barry Odom. For those who don't know, he was the UNLV coach last year. They had one of their best seasons in a while. He used to be the coach at Missouri, so I think Purdue, future might look a little bit brighter, but not this year.
Ohio State at Illinois. Now, for Ohio State fans, this is one of the games that Ohio State is going to struggle with because what if I think it's the big what if. What if Illinois is undefeated? And that to me that's the only possible way that I would say Illinois might win because at this point if they beat everybody before Ohio State is going to have a lot of trouble on the road. And I think just looking back in the past, the Buckeyes do not have in the last 20 years the greatest record at Champaign, or they might. It's just that they play really low-scoring games, So it's closer than it should be, so to speak. But this year, I think Ohio State gets the win.
This is the first time in a decade that Illinois will be hosting Ohio State, and the last time they even played was 2017 in Columbus, and they were supposed to play in the
That's
COVID
nuts.
year.
That's crazy.
Didn't happen. The way that some of these conferences over the years have scheduled things, and certain opponents don't play each other, even though they're in the same conference for such a long time, is ridiculous. But that's a conversation for another day. Listen. This is another believe it till I see it kind of a thing. Ryan Day hasn't lost to anybody not named Michigan in his 6 years in the Big Ten at least. I guess Oregon.
Oregon counts
of the real Big Ten.
Yeah.
Okay, let's forget about Oregon for a second. This is
they wiped it clean with a natty last year, so it's all good.
Right, that's true. I mean, and they came back and whipped Oregon. So listen, this is our spring training, right? I'm knocking off the rust here. Probably gonna make a couple more mistakes like that, but anyway. They don't lose to anybody not named Michigan. That's just the way it's been for Ryan Day. I think he'll be able to get his team ready for this game. And sneak peek for the Ohio State preview, I actually think their defensive line is going to be better this year than last year, which sounds blasphemous, but we can get into that when the Ohio State episode comes up. So I do think Ohio State's going to win this game. I fear, and I have to look. You can give us some analysis real quick. I do want to look at kind of the national landscape for this week. Because if they get big nooned, and this game is at noon for Illinois, I think that screws them over. I think if you're an Illinois fan, you are hoping and praying that Fox takes another game so that maybe NBC or CBS can get this game later in the day and have that better atmosphere.
Yeah, I definitely, on the national level, it could be game day because there would be, I'd have to look at the other games, but, at this point, there's going to be a handful of really good games because several teams will still be undefeated this early in the season.
Yeah. I fear they're going to get big nooned because the only other Big Ten game that week is Michigan and USC, and I do believe there's a rule that a West Coast team can't be on a big noon game because that's a 9 a.m. kickoff for them.
Sure.
So
yeah,
I do think Illinois will get big nooned here. So again, Ohio State, I think their defensive line will be better. They're just more talented. And so, yeah, I like the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I like the Buckeyes here, too. You can't ever count them out, and even on the road. But this is definitely a trap game for both teams. More of a trap game for Ohio State because I think they're expected to win. But it is what it is. I've got the Buckeyes winning, and there's not really much to say because they're just a damn good traditional program. Illinois at Washington, and the only reason that I picked Illinois to lose was because Washington should be better this year. Illinois has hangover loss, and they just get roughed up. Going from such the hype, what all the energy that it takes as a player to play in a game with that kind of pressure, it really drains your body and your anxiety. I've been there several times playing sports where something happened the last week and it was just like, well, now the season's over. I mean, especially if you lose to Ohio State and you have a couple losses under your belt, now you're not even ranked. So I think Illinois loses their rank after Ohio State, and I think they lose to Washington. And at that point, it's just, hey, we got to, play to be in a good bowl game.
So here's this is for me. This is the hardest game on the schedule to pick.
It's
Again,
tough.
because of the way I kind of laid things out beforehand. They have to go 3-2 in their five biggest games, and right now I've got them at 2-2, and this is the season. This game, I think, just looking at the rest of their schedules, quick sneak peek. I don't think any of the teams left on their schedule are going to beat them at all. Especially that last one. That was interesting in your video. But that being said, the other purple team on their schedule is much more talented. Actually, funny enough, this is the first team I played with in my NCAA football 26 dynasty.
Oh,
So
nice.
shout out to the Washington Huskies for that. They're an interesting team. I mean, I'm very qualified to talk about Washington now that I basically know their entire roster up and down. They have a lot of transfers, and they have a lot of guys who are experienced, but they haven't played with each other. The problem is by this time, I think they'll be more familiar, and so I really have a hard time seeing Illinois going in and winning this game. So unfortunately for Illinois, I do think they'll lose. There's too much great top end talent at Washington. They have three or four good players who are game changers in my mind. Quarterback,
Really.
Damon Williams, running back Jonah Coleman, wide receiver Denzel Boston, and then a corner Takario Davis. Those four guys are straight up game changers. I don't think Illinois has anybody like that. The one guy that they did have, Josh McRae, their running back, one of the more underrated and kind of subtle transfers of the offseason, their starting running back transferred to Georgia.
Yeah.
And so not having that kind of star power, especially offensively, I think is going to be a problem for Illinois, and especially in a game like this. So that's the third loss for me.
Yeah. For third loss. Yeah, same here. I have them at three losses at this point. And they are 2-3 in the conference as well. So that's going to be a tough set for Illinois fans. And look, I'm not saying they can't do it, but again, looking at this schedule, it's a tough schedule if you're an Illinois fan or a player or a coach. I mean, I wouldn't want it. That's for sure. So I've got them losing at Washington as well. But it is a game they could sneak in and win, which would be really good. The next week we've got Rutgers flying into Champaign, and that's going to be a win, barring Rutgers
Yeah.
is miraculously last year's Indiana. Um, I'm assuming the same for you.
Yeah.
And then Maryland at Illinois. They've been doing very bad, made no changes. They've had a couple issues at their school off of the field that have kind of made a bit of a difference in the last few years. So they're a recovering program. Uh, they have not done well since they've joined the Big Ten. Um, then you've got Illinois at Wisconsin. So the obvious storyline here is, hey, I'm coaching a school that I used to be the head coach at, or I'm playing against a school that I used to be the head coach at. Then I went to Arkansas, and now I'm at Illinois, so on and so forth. So this is his first time playing Wisconsin as a Big Ten coach that I can remember, and it's going to be kind of neat because they go to Wisconsin. Um, I'm just giving Illinois the benefit of the doubt here that he's a better coach than Luke Fickell, and with Wisconsin having that blue blood mentality, I don't think they really are one, but I think that their fan base, they're just a scrappy team. But they've lost that. Wisconsin has lost that scrappiness in the last 5 years. Where's the Jonathan Taylor recruiting? Where's all this stuff? Where has it gone? So they just haven't been any good. I don't see Wisconsin being good enough to beat Illinois, even though they're at home this year. I think Illinois takes that win.
One of the things I'm pretty confident heading into this year, and you and I have talked about this even since the middle of last season. Luke Fickell's getting fired.
You think
I'm
he's
really
fired
shocked
mid-season?
It's very. I mean, with the way that their schedule lines up, I could absolutely see it. Just a quick preview for Wisconsin: at Alabama, at Michigan, home Ohio State, at Oregon, Washington at home, and then Illinois here.
So they could be
Which of
two
those
and
games are they going to win?
yeah, they could
exactly?
be 2-7 or maybe.
It could be bad for them. I think it's very possible Fickle is fired by this point. Which again, with this kind of a schedule, it's a shame because he's I mean he's going to be 2+ touchdown
He was
underdogs in all those games probably
Yeah, he was hyped up leaving
for
Ohio
for, and
State. I think he left
for
directly
good
from Ohio
reason.
State. But
He went to Cincinnati. Don't forget about that. He
oh
went to
yeah, he had the
Cincinnati and made the
Cincinnati
playoffs.
successful years. Yeah, duh.
Yes, and I can't believe it hasn't worked out at Wisconsin. I really thought I was going to, but that roster is just not even close to being able to compete. And I think Illinois will take advantage of a very wounded animal
Yeah,
at this point in the
yeah.
season.
I think so too. And Wisconsin's grasping for straws because they just sued one of their players for leaving. I think it was going to Florida or Miami, maybe.
They sued Miami.
They sued
Yeah.
Miami, yeah. So, and then this next game, I'm saying that this is what I'm saying. It's the end of the year. If Illinois didn't go 10-2 or 9-3, uh, excuse me, 10-2 or 11-1, that this game probably wouldn't matter. But assuming that Northwestern is better than last year, and assuming that Illinois is the same, last year's game was 38-31, and they always play on neutral turf. I think I think that Northwestern has the ability to win, and the only reason I really picked them was because it's a rivalry game, and I have Illinois at 4 losses. And assuming that they beat USC, okay, um, and assuming that they lose to Washington. So if Illinois goes all the way, it would see 9-2 at this point and plays Northwestern, I think Illinois wins. But assuming the schedule is, or assuming the prediction or the preseason, you know, look is the way I see it, they would have to lose this game. Otherwise, if they can go 9-3 again, that would make them possible another 10-3 season, and I don't think that's going to happen. So this is just a macro prediction. Of course they can wallop Northwestern. Of course they could. But, this might be the year for Northwestern to at least be 7-5, 8-4. So I think it's going to be about right. No bias.
Oh yeah, totally.
Do you think I'm over biased here? Like, that's my question. Because I'm a Northwestern fan. You think this is going to be a drubbing?
If the season goes the way I think it will for Illinois, they're going to murder Northwestern.
Okay.
They're going to murder Northwestern. That's if they're 8-3 heading into this game, because I'm assuming that, again, if they're 8-3, that means they beat Duke, right, and then they gave them the win over USC, and that means they won the rest of their games, right? And I'm assuming they'll beat a lot of the other teams on their schedule pretty handily. So I'm assuming if they're 8-3 heading into this week, with a win over USC, all the things I just mentioned, they'll be probably ranked in the 14-15 range.
You think Illinois is going to be top 25 with 3 losses in the conference?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, easily. And especially if they compete well with Ohio State. Oh no, we can make a bet on it if you'd like.
Just because who they lost to. So if
they're 8-3,
but
yeah,
I
think that's not a bad resume. Big 8-3. Again, I think Washington's going to be pretty solid.
I was going to say that means Washington's going to be
State.
Top ranked.
I think Indiana is being projected as a top 25 team again. So none of those losses are embarrassing at all. I'm giving them a win over USC. Again, if the season turns out the way that I just predicted it to be, I think they'll be very motivated. I think they'll be hovering around the top 15, and they'll still have something to play for. And I don't think Northwestern will, other than their pride. So I think they're going to smash Northwestern if the season goes the way I want it to. Now, again, those 5 games, they could lose all 5 of those just as easily as they could.
Yeah, they could
go 2-3 or 3-2. Notice how I didn't say just as easily as they could win them, because I don't think that's possible. But if they lose 4 of those games, I don't think they're going to have much to play for. So then I could maybe see Northwestern hanging around, because Illinois is just deflated after having all these high expectations. But again, based on the way that I set this season going for Illinois, there's no way Northwestern wins that game. Illinois is going to beat them by 100.
Okay. Well, we've got a few agreements and a few disagreements. Overall, I think Illinois is going to be 8-4. Jordan saying 9-3. Top 25 ranked.
Yeah, 9-3. I think the thing I could just say to kind of encapsulate my feeling on Illinois heading into the season is, listen, they're starting all third-year players and above, and that's pretty crazy. And they only have one guy listed as under a junior, and he's a red sophomore, right? In their starting 2 deep at least, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's impressive in its
Sure.
own right. And so I mean they've just got old men playing it, and the last two national champions, Ohio State and Michigan, brought back everybody, right? And so that seems to be the way to
Right.
go here in this era, and that seems to be the way to win. But and again, I think in those games that I keep referencing those big five games, right? I think they'll be favored in every single one of those except for maybe Indiana, Ohio State, and Washington. And again, I can see two of those three games going either way. But here's the thing: when have we seen Illinois live up to expectations? Their best seasons always come when they sort of come out of nowhere. Certain programs just Northwestern is probably the same way, right? Certain programs operate better under the radar, and I think Illinois is no exception to that. I think Brett Bielema has been like that his entire coaching career. I just I
Yeah,
don't see them making the playoff,
I agree
unfortunately.
with you. I yeah,
Um,
I don't.
it's going to be tough. I just can't. I mean, again, if it happens, I'll be happy for them, and I want them to. I think it'll be great for the state of Illinois, all that stuff. But I just can't see it. And so this is one of those things where I'm just kind of going based on their reputation and based on history, because certain programs you can do that with, and I'm not going to use that logic for every program
Yeah, the
because
logic can be
again,
flawed
programs
sometimes,
change.
but yeah,
Like Indiana, I think Indiana, Kurt Signani has completely changed the reputation of that program.
immediately. Yeah.
Again, could be wrong, but that's just the feeling I get based on what he did building this year's roster, and we'll get into that next week. So I think just based on reputation, even though in theory it looks like this is a breakout year for them, I think they kind of already had that breakout year, and I think they're going to see more of the same, more or less, this season.
Yep, I'm right on with you there. I don't think they're going to the playoffs either. I don't even think they're making it to the Big Ten championship,
No,
barring they lose one conference game. So anyway, thanks for your input. We'll see y'all next week, next couple days for more reviews.